What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from the quarantine zone again, and this time we are here with Molly of Living Dead Girl. Great to be able to talk with you today. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you here. As the second I heard Exorcism, I was just like, I need to get this group on the show. It's so great to be able to talk to you. I really want to know like what the thought process was behind the making of Exorcism. Was there kind of like a goal that you had in mind going into it? Was there a lot of trial and error? How did Exorcism sort of see the light of day, so to speak?
It was basically 4 years of trial and error. Because admittedly, I was going into the studio not knowing what I wanted it to sound like. So there was three recording studios total before, like the third studio I got to was Mitch's studio in Los Angeles, where the album actually was made. But I was working with local producers and local studios before that happened, and like I was just like making demo after demo and being like, nah, I don't like it. But I didn't know what I didn't like about it. It took a lot of trial and error, experimenting and playing with different sounds and different things until finally I was like, okay, that's it. And I didn't have that moment until I went to work with Mitchell in Los Angeles, because like I was just so new and inexperienced. Like, it's a good thing I did do that, because I got the experience of being in a studio and learning how to do that, like how to work with a producer, how to record vocals and everything. So it was great that it worked out that way, because everything happens for a reason and it all just worked out. But like, I honestly was just like blindly making music and didn't know what I wanted it to sound like for years, until finally I was like, okay, this is my sound. Like, I didn't know what I wanted myself to sound like until like 2 years ago.
So is what we're hearing like on Exorcism, like did these songs change a lot over a span of time, or is there anything that kind of like stayed true to how it was originally structured 4 years ago?
Things did change a lot. So I would say, how many of the songs were reworked? There was like four songs total, I believe, four, maybe five, that we had already written and recorded elsewhere. That then, when we went to work with Mitch, we just like redid them basically. But then the rest of the album were just brand new songs that I wrote with Mitchell. So you can kind of tell. I feel like some people like can just pick up on which ones were the older ones and which ones were the newer ones. You can kind of It's kind of apparent in like the style. But like, yeah, like everything changed so much over 4 years. Like Exorcism, the title track, was originally like a death metal song, and now it is like far from that. Like, I still have a demo on my phone somewhere I recorded of Exorcism 4 years ago, and it's literally just screaming for like 5 minutes.
Future B-side maybe?
Yeah, maybe one day, like some kind of anniversary edition or something, be like, hey, this is what I recorded in my friend's living room 4 years ago.
How would you feel if that ended up being the biggest hit you've ever had?
I'd be embarrassed, because I'd be like, damn, like that one wasn't even like fully mixed or mastered. I think it was just like a demo. So like, if people liked that better than the album I actually tried harder on, that'd be interesting.
Well, I've noticed that like that the whole death sort of thing has been like becoming a thing of interest in the world. Like when you see like what Mimi Barks has been doing, or like what even Poppy's been doing, like people take more interest when like somebody goes more metal. So you never know. Maybe
Yeah.
yes. So it's not selling out if you go lighter, but it's definitely not selling out if you go heavier either.
Yeah, I've actually thought that before. I was like, we should do some songs that have like more screaming than singing and stuff, just to like play with those elements a bit more.
Well, having multiple usages of your voice, which is ultimately what made me gravitate towards the music, on just how much you were able to say, not just lyrically even, but like in terms of just your range and your vocal abilities. I feel like that you're able to say so much just with that. Do you almost feel that having a different usage of your voice is a different way of expressing different emotions or different sides of who you personally are?
For sure. I even like joke with people. Like, I say that it's my different personalities talking. Like, it's like there's like my clean vocals, like my regular singing and belting and stuff, and then there's my scream, and then there's like when I do those kind of vocals, like in Exorcism, the chanting part that sounds like almost like a cheerleader, where I'm just singing like as high and cute and girly sounding as I can and stuff. It's like those are all my different personalities, just like each doing their thing.
So it's not like with every song on Exorcism, it's not like, I'll just say for lack of better terms, but like a concept album that has one overarching story. It's almost like every song is a different representation of a certain place or a different time or experience, right?
Hmm. Yeah, each song is like based off a personal experience of mine.
Okay. Do you want the music to be open to interpretation, or do you try to maybe get the listener to sort of see things from your point of view in a way?
I like it to be open to interpretation because sometimes if you leave lyrics just vague enough, people can relate to it. They know what the tone and the mood and like the overall feeling of it is, and people will be like, "Oh my god, I relate to this," even though they don't know exactly what you're talking about. So I kind of like leaving it for interpretation, like especially with songs like "Stronger" and stuff. I think I kind of left it open ended enough that it's like people can relate to it. They don't know exactly what I'm talking about, but like they're like, "I feel that." You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like if you leave the lyrics with just enough mystery to them, people mentally fill in their own blanks, and it's like they'll apply it to their own experiences and memories and thoughts and stuff because it's not too specific.
And I think the titles in itself is enough to kind of like they're vague enough. Like I think a track like "Give Up," for example, almost kind of has like both a positive and like a it has like a don't mess with me sort of attitude behind it, but it can also
Hmm.
represent the negative aspects. What if you do give up on certain aspects? I think like every lyricism is sort of like a catch-22, and you approach it both very literally and metaphorically.
Yeah, yeah. Like even sometimes I've like read reviews of our album or like people's comments and stuff, and they're like, "I love how this song talks about something something," and like I'm reading it, and I'm like, "That's not what I'm talking about." And I'm like, "But that's cool that that's what it meant to you, or that's what made you think of." Like it's kind of cool with music how if you ask different people, different songs mean different things, or oh, I think of this song as being like really emotional, or I think of this song as being like if you ask different people, you'll get different answers. Like that's kind of like one of the things that's so cool about music is it's like everyone puts their own spin on it when they listen to it.
Well, there's the famous saying, when you put a song out, it immediately becomes theirs. So,
Yeah, like they apply it to the people in their lives and to their memories and their everything, you know?
yeah. And I'd almost feel, I mean, as an artist myself, but I'm a visual artist, so maybe different experience. It's almost kind of like, I don't, I've always been nervous about expressing it in front of other people because people do take it in their own way. And then I, let me ask you, if somebody asks you to explain what you were going through when writing that song, do you all of a sudden just like go blank and like just forget about everything you were going through?
I do. It depends on the song, of course. Like some songs are obviously like, oh, this is about this. And some songs, like I'm like a bit more like private. Like sometimes people will be like, what is this song about? And I'm kind of just like, sometimes I feel like suddenly I'm sitting there naked in front of them. I'm just like, it's like, I feel like exposed. It's like expressing yourself is like a very vulnerable thing. It's just like, especially when it's like a sad song or like a breakup song or something, it's like you're really putting yourself out there. So when someone asks for like the specific details of like, what's this about? Sometimes you just feel kind of like, I don't want to say like sheepish or embarrassed, but you know, like you just kind of feel like put on the spot. Like sometimes I'm like to people, I'm like, I don't know. It was about like, I just kind of like clam up and I'm like, it's whatever you want it to be about.
And and kind of going back to what we talked about, how this album came together over a course of 4 years, were you always did the lyricism in itself change, or the subject matter regarding that, or are the topics something that you've always wanted to sing about since the formation of Living Dead Girl?
They did change a lot. Like definitely in those 4 years, like I matured a lot and like, cause I went from being like 18 and still in high school to being 22. So like obviously during that time of going from being like a teenager to an adult, like your perspective on things change. And like I grew as an artist a lot. So like maybe like it changed enough to help me develop as an artist, but like I don't know, I just like contradict I'm like contradicting myself. I mean like I grew as an artist, but it wasn't completely different. Like stylistically it's different, but a lot of the songs I wrote when I was 18 still are relevant to me now.
Oh yeah.
They just like I'm just like older and wiser now. Like I'm better at expressing myself now, and I write like more mature lyrics now than I used to. But like the core of the core is still the same.
Yeah, well, I don't buy for a second that people outgrow who they are, especially with the music that they grew up listening to. That is total bullshit to me. When you like an
Yeah.
artist, it's part of your life, whether you still listen to them or not.
Yeah, like I can hear like Hillary Duff now, who I used to be obsessed with when I was like 5, and like if I hear it now, I'm still excited and still know every word. Even though I don't listen to that kind of music now, I'm still love hearing it. Like,
Okay, I still,
I think music has such a sentimental, nostalgic thing to it.
yeah, I still remember those two songs that were played on pretty much every Nickelodeon commercial when Hillary Duff was like huge from like her movie deals and everything. I remember that like it was yesterday, so no judgment on this part.
Yeah, like it's just like music really gives you like the warm fuzzies. Like if it reminds you of like being a kid or something, it's like how would I not still be excited to hear that? It's just such a nostalgic thing.
Definitely. I still listen to Hybrid Theory. It's still my favorite album, and it came out when I was 6. So, and
Yeah,
and I'm 28. So,
yeah, sometimes you listen to something and it reminds you of like, oh, I remember when I was 6 and I was listening to this, and it's just like a good feeling.
yeah, just don't tell the artist that because it'll make them feel like senior citizens. I've learned that the hard way numerous times. Now, have you always needed the music before you put like pen and paper on lyrics, or do you sometimes feel that maybe a lyrical idea could maybe influence the music itself?
I do a bit of both. Sometimes I I have my whole phone, my notes app is just full of random lyrics that don't have music to them yet. So sometimes I'll just like take the lyrics, show the producer, and be like, okay, this is what I've got. And then he'll be like, what are you thinking for like melody lines? And I'll just kind of start humming, start singing. And then he'll grab a guitar and like he'll kind of come up with something based on. He'll be like, what's the mood of this? What's the vibe? Like, do you want high energy? Do you want fast? Like, I've had songs that started with lyrics, and I've also had songs where the producer's like, here's the instrumental, write lyrics to it.
Okay.
So like I can do either one.
Have you ever had like the best lyrics ever, but then they're always like one syllable over like every arrangement that that's presented to you?
That's basically what happened with our song Villain. I had too many lyrics, and like I showed them to Mitch, and he was like, you only need about a third of these. Like, he already was writing the music while I was writing the lyrics. Like, he was sitting beside me tracking guitars while I was writing the lyrics. And he looks at my lyrics and he's like, you only need like a third of these. He's like, you wrote a book. And I was just like, And I was like, I think I'm gonna rap them. And he was just like, what? And I was like, I'll make it fit. Like, he was like, you need to trim this like way down. And I was like, no. I was like, just watch. And then I just like went up to the mic and just started like banging it out. Like, I was like making it as punchy and quick as possible and stuff. And I was like, see, it fits.
That's
like, just change the delivery if it doesn't fit.
That song makes a whole lot more sense to me now. I was wondering on how you were able to cram so much into that. I was going to suggest, though, maybe in the future, if you have too many lyrics, write a progressive metal song, and then each song could be 47 minutes long, and then you could fit all of them in there.
Just keep going. Like, if I have too much to talk about, just like keep going for like 40 minutes.
Exactly. This way people could be late for your show like by a half hour and still make it before the first song ends.
Oh my God, yes.
That happened at an Opeth
Not a bad
concert.
idea.
That happened to me at Opeth. 40 minutes late, made it before the first song ended.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah. So now, kind of again going back to the course of how long it took to make this album, because I do feel like every song captures a moment, which is what I think makes this album very strong. Each song captures a moment, like a feeling, setting. That is what I consider the greatest accomplishment with Exorcism. But when you're working on something for a long period of time, in your case 4 years, do you find it harder to kind of like maybe maintain that emotional spark that originally inspired the writing session?
I would definitely say so, because like Worship Me was the very first song I ever recorded in a studio when I was like in high school still. And it was rewritten and reworked in 3 different studios with 3 different producers. Like, we kept rewriting it and redoing it. But so like even that song, like by the time I was in Los Angeles working with Mitch, I just wanted to write new songs. So like when we went back and reworked that song, like I was less excited about it as I was with the new songs, because it wasn't new anymore. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, it was my very first song, so there's like that kind of sentimental attachment to it. It's like, oh yeah, I remember recording this like when I was still in high school. But I wasn't as excited about the songs we were reworking as I was with the brand new ones, just because it wasn't like the new shiny toy, you know what I mean? Like, it was like, oh, I've already had that for a while.
Yeah, and I'd imagine too that inspiration sometimes strikes at like the most inconvenient times as well, right?
A lot of my lyrics are written on the back of receipts and napkins, like if I'm like at work or something. Like, I've had before, like a customer started talking to me once. They were a regular, thank God. Like, it was someone I knew, like came up and started talking to me once, and I was just like, wait, one sec, hold that thought. And I just like grab a receipt and start writing something down. It's like, wait, what? It's like, everyone leave me alone for like 5 seconds. I gotta write this down.
Yeah, that's got to be so heartbreaking.
Yeah, there's been times where I've come up with like melody lines and lyrics to go with them in my head. And what I'll do is I'll pull my phone out and go in the voice memo and record myself singing it, so I have the melody line as well as the lyrics. But there's been times before where like I didn't get to my phone quickly enough or something, and like it's gone. And I'm just like, or I'll come up with lyrics in my head and like they're cool and I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling that. And then 5 minutes later, it's gone.
They need to invent like a device. I mean, I don't know how they could do it without plugging it into your brain though, where like it records all your memories or all your ideas, so you could go back and revisit
That would be so great for musicians.
Yeah, I'm sure Elon
Like,
Musk.
how many lyrics have I just lost over the years? And like, those could have been great songs, but like, it's weird too. Like, sometimes I'll be thinking, yeah, this is really good. And then it's gone. And I'm like, if it was so good, how did I forget it?
Yeah, it happens. But I'm sure Elon Musk will invent something one day that captures your memories. Who
Oh,
knows?
it's coming.
Yeah, it's coming. I wouldn't be surprised if he invents that. Now, I am sure, I don't like to assume, but I'm sure that every interviewer has asked you this before. But with the name Living Dead Girl, I'd imagine they all asked if it was a Rob Zombie reference. Am I wrong?
You were wrong.
Oh, really?
Well, no, everyone asks me that, but you were wrong. It's not. It's not from
Yeah.
a Rob Zombie song.
Yeah, I didn't want to ask if that was a Rob Zombie reference at all. I wanted to know is if Living Dead Girl is maybe a character that you're portraying in your music or something like that.
Yes. Yeah, it's more. Yeah, I think of it more as like a character. Like, I think of myself as like, I am Living Dead Girl. But I came up with the name just from a personal story. Like, my mom told me when I was like 10 that when I was born, they thought I was a stillborn for the first like 5 minutes of my life. Like, she's like, yeah, like when you were born, you weren't crying, you weren't breathing, you were just like purplish gray. And like the doctor was like, oh my God, like I think your baby's dead, basically, is what happened. So my mom told me that when I was like 10. And already at age 10, I was already like starting to wear black lipstick and dressing kind of goth. And I felt so cool because I listened to Marilyn Manson and got in trouble for it at Catholic school and stuff. So like, I was already starting to like go down like the kind of goth road when I was like 9 or 10. So when my mom told me the story when I was like 10 years old, that she's like, yeah, you were born dead, I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. I was like, I was born dead? I was like, it's so fitting. I was like, it just suits me so much. I'm like, that's just so cool to be able to tell people. Like, so I just like loved that concept. So like when I was like 15 and started my first band, I was like, we're Living Dead Girl. I was like, that's the name. I was like, because it's like my life. It's like it like suits me so well.
And to tell you the truth, I don't know about you, and props to you if you're able to just let it roll off your back so easily. I would almost be furious if everybody was like, oh, Rob Zombie, right? Like when Machine Head started, everybody was like, bro, Deep Purple, right? That's a Deep Purple reference right there. But I think that's extraordinary how, I mean, because that song by Zombie is a classic, but like that.
Yeah.
I feel like that track describes you more than anything that was coming out of his mind at that point.
Yeah, like it does get annoying only when like if someone's just like, hey, did you name it after Rob Zombie? Like, I'm not like annoyed that they asked. It's like, that's a pretty legit thing to ask me, and like I'll explain it to everyone who asks. But like it just annoys me when someone like says it very like accusatory. Like every now and then you get a comment where someone's like, how would Rob Zombie feel if he knew you stole his name? Like, you're gonna have a lawsuit on your hands. So, like, I've had comments like that, and it's like, you think I'm stupid enough that I didn't research copyright before I started printing merch with the name on it? Like, I already made sure it was legally okay. So it's just it just gets annoying when people assume I like stole it, or people are like, Rob Zombie's gonna sue you. I'm like, no, he's not.
Here's my reply. Do you know how many bands are called Ghost?
Yeah, true. And
So,
I literally have replied to people too. There's a whole article on Wikipedia of bands named after other band songs, and there's a huge list.
oh, absolutely.
Like, it's a huge list. Like, there were some that I didn't even realize. Like, I didn't put 2 and 2 together.
Creeping Death. So.
Yeah, and Lady Gaga is named after Radio Gaga by Queen.
Oh, that I did not know.
I didn't either, and I found that out, and I was like, that's actually super cool.
Yeah, I think in the end, it doesn't matter if it's a title that resonates with you. Who gives a crap? And by law, you can't copyright a title either. So.
Yeah, like I was looking into it, and like I was looking at like, so it's more like trademark and stuff. But like I was looking into it, and it said that like song title and artist name are 2 separate categories legally. So it said like it can't even affect each other. So I was like, I obviously made sure it was okay before I went ahead and did it. It's just like funny when people are like, I hope Rob Zombie sues you. I'm like, why would you hope that?
You should tour with him because that would be a great show.
Yeah, it's like I should open for him one day.
That would be amazing, and maybe you could sing that song with him too.
I've had dreams of that.
Yeah. And that leads me to my final question, actually, is because that you do portray sort of like a persona in your music. Can you maybe see Living Dead Girl being expressed through other mediums as well? Maybe not just through music, but maybe a graphic novel or sort of like a show maybe or something like that. Because I listen to your music and this could just be me, but I do get a whole visual aspect behind it. Like I listen to Living Dead Girl and I get a picture of who this character could be just in my mind. So could you maybe see your Living Dead Girl expressing your sound through multiple styles in the future?
I've never thought of a graphic novel personally. That's just like not something that like came to mind ever. But like I really do agree with like the whole visual thing. Like I'm so in love with like making visuals, like photo shoots, music videos, like album art. Like I love visually bringing Living Dead Girl to life. Like making music videos and things like that is my favorite thing to do. So like personally, like I think one of the best ways we could do that is with more music videos, and I hope we can like keep making them for more and more songs on the album because I love making them. Because like everything down to like picking wardrobe and makeup and like the lighting and everything. Like when you're like making a music video, it's like I'm adding another dimension or another layer to the song and like helping people picture it. So like more music videos, things like that, like are just another way for us to like make a visual. So I'd like to keep like making those. I love doing photo shoots and like concept like creative photo shoots, things like that.
Yeah, I'd imagine as the music and the album, like you're listening to it, you get like visual aspects in your mind, right?
There are some songs I have entire music videos planned out for, and some of the ideas I have are so big and ridiculous. I'm like, hey, like you don't have $1 million budget, so maybe you should tone that down a bit.
Yeah, yeah, that's the only thing, money. Yeah, but
Yeah, like some of my ideas for music videos, I'm like, how do you think you're gonna do that? And I'm like, I'll just hold on to it for one day.
well, I mean, Guns N' Roses managed to have some pretty elaborate music videos back in the day. Like,
Yeah.
who could afford to rent an aircraft carrier and then swim with dolphins?
People with record labels.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
You got me there. So,
Not yet.
so before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today. Is there just anything else with Living Dead Girl that you would like to promote? Obviously, when this freaking virus that shall not be named is finally behind us, we'll be seeing Living Dead Girl on the road quite a bit, right? Can you please bring Living Dead Girl to New York?
Yes, 100%. We were going to tour this fall. We were actually talked out of it by a booking agent who reassured us if we booked a tour this fall, it would end up getting canceled. Like the rest of them are getting canceled. So we are going to be touring it the second we have like a green light of hopefully it won't all get canceled because, you know, with like the work visas and stuff, we would hate to drive from Canada to the States, have shows get canceled and go home. They would just be like so expensive. So the only reason we haven't yet is just because of COVID. The name that I won't name. I started saying it and I just cut myself off. I will not name it. But the only reason we haven't toured yet is because of that. So we definitely will the second we have like a green light. And New York is such an obvious stop for us because it's literally like a 5-hour drive from where we are. Like it's not even far.
Oh, where are you at right now?
Toronto.
Oh, Toronto. Oh, sweet. Yeah. And New York
Yeah, like-
City. New York City is the time. I mean, when this shit's behind us, because a lot of new venues have been opening up. All of like the storefronts that have been like abandoned and out of business are now turning into music venues.
Oh, it's amazing. Well, New York City's a little bit further, but I mean, it's still like easy driving distance for Canadian bands. Like it's totally doable and will happen the second we can.
You got plenty of places to play on the way down to New York City. Do a show in Syracuse.
Yeah, Buffalo. Like Buffalo's like 3.5 hours from where we live. So like it's not even far for us to go to the States.
Yep, do a show in Albany and then come down.
Exactly.
But thank you so much, everybody. We are here with Living Dead Girl. Be sure to check out Exorcism if you haven't already. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.